In this lecture, I want to explore several multi-platform apps and see how they compare. This should further illustrate my point that iOS apps rely on the same building principles as Android ones. The only things that change are small details that are specific to each individual platform. Let's start with WhatsApp, one of the biggest apps on the planet. On the left side, we have the iOS version, on the right, the Android one. These three controls are part of the native interface on my Samsung device, so you can easily identify what's what. Let's take it from the top. The status bar contains just about the same amount of information, but on an iOS it blends in with the navigation bar. Rarely does it get another color treatment like on Android. In both cases, we have an up arrow that takes us to a previous screen, as well as two icons for starting a voice or video call. On the Android version, these three dots represent a very much expected menu that provides additional options. This is a familiar sighting for Android users. On iOS, this gets moved down. You can see it here, it's this plus symbol. These are platform-specific differences users expect. When we click them, we see two native behaviors. The pop-up is familiar territory for iOS users and, dare I say, easier to use because of its generous size. This is called an action sheet and it doesn't allow much customization. On Android, this drop-down is also limited from a design perspective and it's not that friendly for fat fingers, but again, people are used to it. Focusing on the bottom part of both apps, we see a ton of similarities regarding iconography and placement. On that topic, we have to note the two different styles. The iOS version has linear icons that are a touch more interesting. Android uses filled ones with the exception of the attach icon. Overall, iOS is the better looking one of the two, and that's based on two things. 1, better looking icons. 2, better colors. This green isn't doing it for me, and this gray is also unpleasant. This one looks more cohesive, more in tune with the iOS ecosystem. To sum it up, this means we have to understand the iOS-specific building blocks. We should use this drop-down menu that's specific to Android, but moving past that, the principles of good design make this app look better. Let's switch to another example. Netflix is one of the best companies in terms of design. They spend a lot of time and money on it, and you can tell. This is one of the very few examples where both apps look extremely similar. Left side iOS, right side Android. The home screen is nearly identical. The only real differences are with regards to Coming Soon, which is missing on iOS, and the floating action button that connects my Samsung device to a TV. Besides that, there's nothing that separates these two. Again, this is the absolute ideal situation, and you won't find many cases like this. I'd bet good money that both design teams constantly communicated with each other, and there was a fantastic management team that led both app projects. The only differences in terms of design are minor things. For example, on Android, the app bar features icons on the right side. On iOS, users expect to see a word that describes the action in question. In this case, that's edit. There's no right or wrong way here, though I'm sure you have your own preferences. This is not the discussion. We're going through these cases to see how iOS apps should be built. So far, we've established that as long as you follow the design principles described in this course as well as the material design guidelines, you'll be fine. Just imagine if you were in charge of the iOS Netflix app and you used this pencil icon instead of edit, or maybe a drop-down menu like we saw on WhatsApp. Sure, the app would be less intuitive, but if the rest of it looked like this, that would be an easy fix. And that's the point. Design a beautiful app, respect those platform-specific components, and you'll be fine. I've attached this PSD with several other sets of screenshots so you can see how much these platforms have in common. There are some cases where certain screens have a totally different layout, for example the filter system, but overall these can be studied and replicated. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section after you've gone through this PSD. Have fun!